Kit Rinkas Ahashut. Draz Grumthimas Rinkas Af Ruk. Zan Unzar Rinkas Af Kazakan. Gandit Rinkas Ahashut. Zin Bakaz Ahashut Zan Azul. Drath Zarul Anu Gatten Ha. Anksho Rinkas Ahashut. Never before has any voice uttered the words of this foul incantation outside the Darklands, but the foul tongue of Zar-Alid may yet be heard in every corner of the Warhammer world if the Chaos Dwarfs are not stopped. These foul beings were once dwarfs, now twisted into creatures of eternal malice by the warping influence of the Chaos God, Hashut. By combining their Kdaai-born resilience, tenacity, and skill at metallurgy with the infernal powers of demons, they have created some of the most devastating weapons to ever blight the battlefields of the old world. The Deathshrieker rocket launcher, the Dreadquake mortar, and the dreaded Hell Cannon were all invented and forged by the Chaos Dwarfs, or Kdaai Zar as they are known by their western kin, and they have tormented the dwarfs of the Karaz-Ankor for several thousand years with these weapons. Yet these artillery pieces are never enough for the paranoid demonsmiths and sorcerer prophets of the Kdaai Zar in their eternal pursuit of power. They desire truly invincible soldiers and weapons, seeking to use such tools to dominate the world beneath their steel-trod boots. Recently, the Kdaai Zar created just that, warriors that might finally give them the power needed to fulfill their perverse dreams of conquest. By performing unspeakable rituals in the hearts of the hottest forges, the Chaos Dwarfs have made the Kdaai, beasts of metal and flame. Unlike most Chaos Dwarf weapons, the Kdaai are not merely enslaved or pact-bound demons that have been hammered into axes or cannons. Instead, they are a new form of life. Born in the boiling blood of Hashut's burning sacrifices, a Kdaai's body is made of roiling magma and raw demonic components in equal parts. Their liquid form is then contained within armored suits of rune-encrusted bronze capable of withstanding the withering heat of their molten bodies, at least for a time. Even enclosed within this armor plating, a Kdaai's mere presence is enough to scorch any creatures that come close, be they friend or foe. Any enemy foolish enough or unlucky enough to face a Kdaai in melee combat will find their skin burnt to cinders and their bones reduced to ash. This internal inferno has defensive applications as well. The fire demon's molten bodies render them nearly immune to fire damage, as few flames burn hot enough to harm a being made of molten metal, and the immense heat emanating from their bodies melts swords and axes into useless slag long before they can meaningfully damage the Kdaai. Only enchanted weapons can cut through one of the fire demons without risk, and even then, their wielders don't receive any such protection. Of course, these are physical attributes that one would expect of creatures made of molten metal, but the Kdaai are part demon as well. The chaotic energies coursing through their forms grants the Kdaai infernal powers, and they possess many of the resistances so commonly found amongst the demons of chaos. Reality itself shifts to ward them from harm, and they possess a monstrous constitution. Felling any Kdaai is incredibly difficult, and few warriors are up to the task. The destructive energies utilized in the construction of the Kdaai come at a cost. The combination of demonic fury and magmatic rage trapped within their metal shells makes the Kdaai nearly mindless and difficult to control. If the demonsmith or sorcerer prophet directing them makes even one mistake, entire legions of Chaos Dwarfs may be immolated by an unbound fire demon. Additionally, the raw power of a Kdaai's spirit will slowly burn through their binding rituals, eventually killing the creature. This can even happen mid-battle, the Kdaai's rune-bound armor melting away into slag, and the fire demon's spirit flying away once more into the ether. To reduce the risk of this pointless waste of resources, Chaos Dwarfs will make the fire demons fall into a deep slumber between battles, their blazing spirits shrinking to little more than restless embers within a cold, metal statue. This prolongs the Kdaai's lifespan by a considerable amount, ensuring they can serve the Chaos Dwarfs for many long centuries to come. Only when the Dawizar marched to war, the fire demons awoken once more with rituals of blood and flame. Indeed, you have already heard a fragment of such a dark rite. The Zaralid chant used to introduce this video was taken from a Kdaai ritual of awakening, and when translated into the common tongue, it goes as follows. Hear the summons of Hashut. The Dark Father calls you to slaughter. Blood and fire exhorts you to war. Hear the summons of Hashut. Stretch your limbs of blood-oiled steel. The Dawizar march forth once more. Answer the summons of Hashut. The act of creating any Kdaai is an immensely difficult process. Only the greatest of sorcerer prophets even attempt the feat, and more than a few have been immolated by their hubris when their creations slip from their grasp. Additionally, the raw ingredients required for the process are prohibitively expensive, and even sorcerer prophets with the talent to forge Kdaai may not be able to afford such an undertaking. As such, the fire demons are rare to the point of legend, and many believe that such creatures can't exist in the first place. This disbelief is merely a prelude to tragedy, however, as those who don't believe in the Kdaai can still be burnt by their fury. The most common form of Kdaai, though still by no means widespread, is the Kdaai Fireborn. These monsters are often built in the form of physically imposing humanoid statues. Most of them stand as tall as trolls, though they aren't quite as durable as these nauseating dullards. The Fireborn act as shock troops in the Chaos Dwarf army, breaking through heavily armored lines of infantry with their blazing axes and brazen fists. They are often led into battle by Kdaai man-burners, Fireborn that have been infused with even more chaotic power by their sorcerer prophet overlords. Even more horrifying, though thankfully much rarer, than the Kdaai Fireborn are the Kdaai Destroyers. These hulking behemoths are massive constructs, built in the shape of great monsters or giants, and their rites of awakening require the blood sacrifice of legions of slaves. Despite this horrific practice, destroyers are well worth the expense. Kdaai destroyers are as strong as the Carnosaurs of Lustria, but much more durable, and possessed of a hellish fury beyond even their smaller, fireborn kin. These fire demons are a match for any monster in the old world and beyond, and only the most powerful armies can stand against them. The largest of them are the size of small hills, and nigh invulnerable to the pitiful weapons of humanized-sized opponents. As if this raw power wasn't enough, Kdaai destroyers are also incredibly fast, especially for a monster of their size. Usually such titanic beasts are slow and lumbering, but destroyers are capable of outrunning an unbartered warhorse when the need arises. They also possess incredible reflexes for a creature so large, and only elves and Skaven can reliably react to new threats faster than the dreaded destroyers. As befits such a massive undertaking, each Kdaai destroyer is its own unique construction, made to the exact specification of the sorcerer prophet in charge of creating them. As such, there is great variance in their forms. Most destroyers appear as immense bulls, rhinoxes, dragons, or other terrible beasts. A few are shaped in the form of a titanic chaos dwarf, or even Hashut himself. Their only unifying traits are their immense size, hellish internal flame, and blackened, rune-plated armor. With this variation comes a multitude of talents, each unique to the Kdaai destroyer in question. Some, most commonly those in the shape of a bull or minotaur, can pulverize great walls of stone with their charge, to say nothing of what happens when they direct such fury against creatures of flesh and blood. Others are covered in blades and barbs that can shred the few opponents capable of approaching a Kdaai destroyer and not dying a fiery death. These Kdaai will charge into war with the blackened skeletons of their victims still impaled in their spikes, making them look even more fearsome than their fellows. A rare few even have magically infused brass wings grafted onto their bodies. If a great Taurus is ritually sacrificed during the first rites of awakening of such a Kdaai, the destroyer will take on some of the monster's power. Not only can the destroyer use its wings to fly, but can also unleash some of the fiery essence in a great gout of flame, similar to a Bale Taurus's fiery breath. These are but some of the abilities a Kdaai destroyer can possess, and soldiers preparing to face one should be prepared for all of these devilish tricks and more if they wish to have even a chance of surviving the carnage to come. On occasion, the Chaos Dwarfs will loan Kdaai to evil mages of other races, for a price. They may even be convinced to sell the demonic constructs, though at that point the cost goes from steep to astronomical. Curiously, the Dawis are far more eager to part with the more destructive Kdaai destroyers than they are with the less impressive Kdaai Fireborn. This is not out of generosity or desire to see their customers truly succeed, however. Instead, the Sorcerer prophets know that the power of the Kdaai can never be truly controlled, especially not by non-Chaos Dwarfs. When the destroyer inevitably turns upon its would-be master, the Dawizar will be there to collect it once more. That way the Chaos Dwarfs may enrich themselves, while weakening the other races, at no true risk or loss to themselves. A perfect business deal. Kdaai Fireborn and Kdaai Destroyers are both present in Total War Warhammer 3 on the Chaos Dwarf roster. Despite hailing from the same building and benefiting from many of the same technologies and skills, they are very distinct in terms of their role in-game, and will need to be covered one at a time. Kdaai Fireborn are the Chaos Dwarf's only monstrous infantry units. Weighing in at 1400 gold in a multiplayer, they are dedicated anti-infantry specialists. The Fireborn have decent melee attack and good armor-piercing weapon strength, further augmented by a bonus versus infantry of 20, making them excellent at ripping through heavy infantry such as Ironbreakers or Storm Vermin. Fireborn are also fairly fast, ensuring they can quickly get stuck in combat where they excel. They deal fire and magic damage, making them good answers to anything that relies on regeneration or physical resistance to stay alive. The Fireborn's defensive capabilities aren't anything to scoff at either, with 80 armor, 10% physical resistance, 35% fire resistance, and a melee defense value of 40. Their blazing body ability can further increase their physical resistance, granting the Fireborn additional physical resistance and melee damage reflection the longer they stay in combat. This takes forever to become a meaningful boon, however, and shouldn't be counted on to keep your Kdaai safe. Kdaai Fireborn are also almost impossible to quickly rout, as their Burning Bright ability makes them unbreakable until they're below 25% of their maximum hit points, and their Fire Demon trait means they'll never run from combat, though they will begin to crumble once the Burning Bright ability expires. Kdaai Fireborn can even be healed by the Demon Smith's Reforge ability, further increasing their staying power. All of this would make the Fireborn appear as some sort of premier defensive monstrous infantry in the game, but this hasn't been the case in my personal experience. As far as I can tell, there are three major reasons for this. First, Kdaai Fireborn have fairly small hit point pools for monstrous infantry, with nearly 1,000 less than trolls and the like. While this isn't surprising considering the lore, it does mean enemies that can handle armor and physical resistance don't need to do as much damage to cut them down to size. Secondly, the Kdaai's middling leadership ensures that the second they lose their Unbreakable trait, they'll almost immediately begin crumbling. While this isn't a huge issue in multiplayer battles, it does mean you'll lose them quickly in campaign if you aren't careful. Whereas a troll or treekin might rout off the battlefield, only to replenish itself on the campaign map next turn, if your Kdaai starts taking leadership penalties, it's probably already too late. Finally, the Fireborn's animations seem to carry them into the thick of things. They can easily find themselves surrounded by enemies that wouldn't usually pose much of a threat, but can by sheer weight of numbers. With all that in mind, the Fireborn are still very good units, but you shouldn't let them run off alone and depend on their own defensive stats. As always, let your monstrous infantry sit in a nice formation of your regular infantry, preferably some nice Infernal Guard or Chaos Dwarf warriors, to soak up damage. The Kdaai Destroyer, in contrast, is like the Dread Saurian of the Chaos Dwarf roster, though thankfully it still loses to those Lustrian kings of the monsters. They weigh in at 2,200 gold in multiplayer, and they have all the special abilities of their Fireborn kin, though they also have the Hellish Frenzy trait. This is basically the Frenzy trait, giving them increased weapon strength and melee attack, but instead of being tied to leadership, it's tied to the Destroyer's hit point pool. Once the Kdaai falls below 75% of its maximum hit points, it's gone. Considering that normal frenzy can last way longer than that provided the appropriate conditions for leadership, I consider this a strict downgrade. Still, it's a nice boon while the destroyer is in good condition, and they'll probably be able to keep it for a while considering their impressive defensive stats. 120 armor, decent melee defense for a monster that big, and good resistances overall mean your enemy will have to work really hard to put a Kdaai destroyer down. Still, the Dread Sword in comparison is an apt one. They'll probably kill whatever you throw them at, but their high price means they'll have trouble paying for themselves over the course of a battle. As with all non-Hobgoblin Chaos Dwarf units, both variants of Kdaai can be buffed in the manufactory during campaign. They share these upgrades, and while I won't go into all of them, I would like to point out some highlights. The Bound Barrier Demon upgrade gives Kdaai units 600 barrier hit points. While this isn't a lot, it can help keep the Kdaai in fighting condition for that much longer. This is unlocked after increasing Kdaai capacity 5 times, so you can get it pretty early on in campaign if you focus on it. The Bound Resilience Demon upgrade comes a bit later, after increasing Kdaai capacity to 7, and grants all Kdaai units 15% missile resistance. As armor-piercing ranged units are the bane of all monstrous units, and the specialty of many Chaos Dwarf enemies, this isn't a bad trade at all. Next, Channeled Vigor gives all Kdaai Perfect Vigor. This comes later in the game, after reaching 9 Kdaai capacity, but Perfect Vigor is never a bad choice on any melee unit, or really any unit at all. Finally, the Rune of Shielding upgrade gives all Kdaai a flat 35% missile block chance. This is the peak of Kdaai forging, unlocked after increasing Kdaai capacity 11 times, but it makes them extraordinarily durable against missile attacks. When combined with their armor, physical resistance, and potential missile resistance, you'll have created a monstrous unit that almost has to be defeated in melee combat, which is pretty good against a lot of factions. With that, we have come to the end of our overview of both the Kdaai Fireborn and Kdaai Destroyers. I initially intended to only cover the Fireborn, but there was so much overlap between the two monsters' lores that I decided I might as well make it a twofer. I refused to release what amounts to be the same video twice, and anyone who watched the Fireborn video would be bored to tears when the Destroyer video eventually came out. So you get one long video instead. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, or comment, or subscribe, some combination of such, or all three if you're feeling ballsy. Heck, unsubscribe just so you can resubscribe if you're really feeling it, though I'd prefer you didn't do that personally. If you didn't like it though, understand that it's not my fault. This topic was selected by the members of my Discord server through the weekly poll I put out. If you want to grasp the levers of low-level democracy yourself, feel free to join the server and cast your vote as well. That's all I have for this week though, so until next time, this has been Sigmar's Chosen, signing off for now.